What is up, guys? With it being almost December, it's that time of year where grocery stores and supermarkets have their magazine racks full of Jesus stuff. So I just happened to be walking by the magazine racks at my local grocery store, and I saw this. It's a big article. In the cover is the statue of Zeus, and the whole article, the main article, is about the Temple of Zeus in Olympia back in ancient Greece, one of the seven wonders of the world. And I thought that was really cool. It's a National Geographic for November, December 2023. So I thought I'd share that. Let's take a look at that today. It has some pretty cool stuff in it. So the article, like I said, is about the Temple of Zeus in Olympia and the famous statue, one of the ancient wonders of the world. And here is a drawn map of what the sanctuary in the temple area would have looked like. Just to give you an idea, the sanctuary of Olympia. Really cool art with the Zeus in the middle. Up here is the Temple of Hera, and so forth. The entrance to the temple would have been right there. And this is what the temple looks like today. So like I said, the article is about the building of the temple and stuff. So there is another famous work, which I've seen the replica of in Nashville, Tennessee, which is 40 feet tall, including the base. It is a sight to behold. Check that out. This is a recreation of what the temple would have looked like in comparison to how small people are to the statue. So it was made of jewels, colored glass, gold and ivory, and it talks about Phidias, who created the sculpture, how he used ivory and gold. And this article talks about how he sculpted the Zeus, how it had wooden components, wooden components, and he would mold the gold in ivory. The ivory was molded, they're not sure, they're thinking it could have been wetted or heated, they weren't sure, to make it more malleable so it can make what you see, since it would come from like the ivory of elephant tusks. Can you think about how many tusks and so forth, and how much ivory it would take to create something 40 feet tall? So it'd be, again, colored glass, gold, and ivory. The ivory part's always the one that amazes me, how you can mold it to look like that. And here's Apollo. And another Apollo, they're not sure who this was, but they think it is a statue of Apollo. And I absolutely fell in love with this picture. Oh my God. What's amazing is that it only took 30 years to build, which is what one of the pages coming up talks about. So I was really surprised it only took 30 years. So yeah, I thought I'd show you guys today because I thought this was pretty neat. Worth picking up. Not too expensive, like $10. And there's Phidias's workshop. Side view, this reminds me of when I saw the one of Athena in Nashville, how the side you could just see art just by looking at the side. Another thing interesting about the Temple of Zeus is talked about is the lighting of how could you see everything there was to see in the temple back in the day since he was 40 feet tall, that how could light get inside the temple? And so they've had a lot of theories about how light could be in the temple. They're thinking that it could have been natural sunlight, it could have been lamps, or the kind of marble and stuff they used to help light the temple, to at least get some sun during the day. So it may have looked like this, but your view of it in reality may not have been as clear just because of the natural light. And they don't think there was skylighting just so you won't have the elements raining down on it and ruining it. Another thing it talks about is how the statue was, after completion, was anointed with olive oil, and that helped bring out the shine and luster. And at the base, it had like a little lip to collect the oil, which is really cool too. But yeah, back on the light, they're not sure how you were able to actually see the full thing, because only in the early mornings would the sun go through the temple doors. In the last page, they talk about how that statue inspired many works of art throughout the centuries. Emperor Augustus right there, for example. Even Napoleon had a painting of him that was inspired by the statue of Zeus. And this is, I thought, was interesting. They did a statue of George Washington that was based on Zeus. I thought that was pretty cool. So yeah, definitely worth picking up. Really cool. And it doesn't end there, so that's the end about the statue. But then it talks about Marcus Aurelius. Has a huge article about him and his philosophy. So if this sounds really interesting to you, I definitely recommend it. It is out now. The National Geographic History, Wonder and Thunder, the statue of Zeus at Olympia. Like I said, it was only $10. I think it's worth checking out. Anyway, guys, I'll see you later. Bye. Oh, and one last thing, guys. I thought this was interesting that may warrant a field trip in the future. It's talking about the statue of Zeus on the first page. It's lucky for us that the statue of Zeus at Olympia, one of those ancient wonders, was copied many times before its destruction around the 5th century AD. It appears on ancient coins, and sculptors made impressive marble replicas. But I like to see the one I like to see the most is the 3D printed version of Zeus on his throne that greets visitors to the Millennium Gate Museum in Atlanta, Georgia. Those wily, plucky viewers of mine that have been paying attention, they know I live in Georgia. And Atlanta is not that far away from where I live. To the Millennium Gate Museum in Atlanta, Georgia. Guess what, guys? So I already looked up more information of this museum. I think we might be going there one day. Stay tuned and you will definitely see.